Hello to all and welcome on Watches TV. And this annoying and lasting COVID situation has at least had a few positive impacts on our industry, as we've seen suppliers and brands working here in Switzerland much more closely than what we were used to. And today's video illustrates this pretty nicely, as Maurice Lacroix have introduced what they call a manufacture movement, and by this they mainly mean that they fully developed in-house a caliber corresponding to their needs with this big date feature, but its manufacturing has been cleverly outsourced until coming back for proper assembly in the brand's workshop. So let's discover this together.
For the Aikon Collection, which is today our most iconic collection and the biggest chunk of our business, it was important that we also bring one of our key competences, which is building in-house movements. The question about in-house is a lot about, first of all, the development capacity and the conception. Then it's about producing these elements. Of course, some of the high and most prestigious manufacturers, they will produce everything in-house. But a house like Maurice Lacroix, with the size of Maurice Lacroix, it is just not possible. I think what's interesting is with COVID, a lot of discussions have been reopened, and what we've seen is a lot of suppliers were open to discuss, and we have come with our briefing or more with our request and saying, listen, we want to produce something very high quality, something that is very exclusive, very unique, but we need help. And on the other side, we have suppliers who are saying, listen, we have the technology, we're interested. We realized that by working together, we were able to achieve very high quality, but then the price were acceptable for us. And then this is also why we can, deliver an Aikon Grande Date, as we call it, at a very, very affordable price. The initial brief is, if you look in the Masterpiece collection, there is the gravity. And this is one of our most appreciated movement. It is also one of our most famous movement because we did a flying balance wheel, which is also developed by ourselves in partnership with another company. When we now move to Aikon and we want to show the excellence in Aikon, obviously we chose this movement or this function as a start, but we wanted to push it further. And here we also decided to introduce a big date. And as you know, the big date mechanism is more complex than a simple date because you have two discs.
Alors la base, on était sur le gravity. Au niveau du balancier côté cadran, on a repris tous les rouages, toute la mécanique de base, et à ça, on a entièrement redéveloppé et reconstruit les laitans pour avoir l'esthétique et le design de la grande date. Pour avoir justement quelque chose de fin, malgré les différents composants et la complication additionnelle. C'est pour ça qu'on a décentré complètement la partie mise à l'heure pour pouvoir justement amincir et garantir que notre complication s'intégrait correctement dans la mécanique générale.
The process is very simple. First of all, we design every part in-house. So, every movement is quite unique because it's our movement, it's our designs. Based on the plans, we go to the suppliers. What happens today with this new partnership with the suppliers, they are able to do all the production and the decoration, so all the work in-house. So then we receive the kits back. We do our T1 assembly, which means the movement assembly in-house, and then you have the end of the production process, which is the hand fitting and the casing, and of course all the quality controls.
Alors notre module de grande date, on vient prendre sur la partie rouage, au niveau de la roue des heures, une roue qui tourne une fois tous les 24 heures. Et puis ensuite, on a un disque qui a 31 dents, qui permet justement tous les 24 heures de sauter d'une fonction. Et puis, à l'intérieur de ces disques, on a des dents qui sont réparties, qui permettent de travailler sur les deux affichages et qui sont entraînés ou non en fonction de ce qu'on veut faire tourner comme disque. Comme pour le saut de 29 à 30, de 30 à 31, et pour revenir au premier, on vient que jouer sur les unités. La difficulté, c'est qu'elle a beaucoup été visitée. Ensuite, c'est où et comment on veut la présenter, donc au niveau de l'écran, enfin plutôt du cadran. Et puis ensuite, pour avoir des coûts intéressants, c'est quelles sont les technologies qu'on va utiliser. Donc là, on est surtout parti sur de la technologie laser, c'est-à-dire des plaques qu'on vient découper avec le laser, ensuite qu'on vient polir, et puis on vient remettre ces différents composants ensemble, qu'on vient souder, et ce qui nous permet d'avoir quelque chose de très fin, et une construction et une dynamique très fluide.
And with the Aikon Master Grande Date, it's actually a manufacturer icon, if you want. To appreciate manufacture, maybe you've already gone your way from quartz to mechanical, and now you are, from a mechanical watch, you're interested in companies who produce and conceive their own movements. So here we are, of course, you have also kind of first step collectors or established collectors. I mean, because the design is interesting, and of course it's very affordable. So you sort of, our focus, of course, is on the millennials who want to uptrade from mechanical to a manufacturer, but we also welcome collectors. The movement we've developed on this Aikon Master Grande Date is the ML331. And what is interesting is the base has been now done that we can use it on other collections and other watches. So this will be certainly a good base to see different functions and complications of Maurice Lacroix in the future. And it's also a base now that we have developed with this new supplier, which helps us to launch a lot of new variations.
Okay, hope you enjoyed this, and I know we are not talking the likes of super mega high-end watchmaking, but here what counts is that you have an honest proposition coming at a very decent price point, and this is something which can naturally be respected. Well, at least, not at least at all, but all the very best to you, and see you real soon, and of course, viva watchmaking! See you!